to Unsafe Spaces Sports. All right, little Unsafe Spaces Sports, lots and lots of college. There were some great games this weekend, and we'll sort of do an inverted top 10, okay? And then a couple extra games that I want to make note of. Number one game, which is actually number 10, was the Washington Huskies. They went to Utah, and man, did they take care of business. 21-7 was the final score. And Utah is now 2-8 in their, or 2-6 in their last 8 games against Pac-12 opponents. Stanford took on UC Davis, and let's be perfectly clear, a lot closer than it should have been. 30-10, but they did it without any Bryce Love. He did not play in this game. Notre Dame played Vandy. I picked Vandy to upset Notre Dame. I was almost right. Vandy had plenty of chances. It should have been a Vandy win, but Notre Dame, for the second week in a row, hangs on. Auburn was number 7. They lost to LSU 22-21 on a last-second field goal. Just a heartbreaker. Every War Eagle fan out there had just a little chunk of their ticker missing Saturday night. That was an unbelievable finish. They'll blame it on the pass interference. Whatever. You lost. Deal with it. Wisconsin played BYU. Wisconsin's calling card is we're big, we're physical, we're badasses. Well, BYU came in there, and they were just as big. They were more physical, and their degree of badassery was higher. So if Wisconsin was a third-degree badass, well, BYU, a lot of the game, was a fourth-degree badass. And the score reflects it, 34-21 BYU. Oklahoma played Iowa State. This was a game that a couple of years ago was such a big upset. And Oklahoma did their business and dealt with Iowa State 37-27, lots of offense in this one. This other game, the next game, number 4, Ohio State. They went to TCU. And yeah, I know it was at Jerry's World. It was in Arlington. Was that 5 miles from Texas Christian's campus in Fort Worth? But anyway, Ohio State, great job by Ohio State. I shall never mention their head coach's name again. And I'm not talking about Ryan Day, because he's done a nice job as the interim. But Ohio State, those kids, they rallied. They're talented. They played really, really well. And they beat TCU 40-28. Next up was Georgia. Georgia played Middle Tennessee. And Georgia did to Middle Tennessee what Georgia should do to Middle Tennessee. They beat them 49-7. Georgia right now looking like the hottest team in the country. What more can you say? Jake Fromm takes care of the ball, and they run the ball down your throat, and they've got amazing defense. Anything else you're supposed to do? Oh, plus, by the way, they've got Rodrigo Blankenship, who's, I think, the best kicker in the country. He could help a lot of NFL teams right now. That's how good he is. All right. Next up, Clemson. Clemson played Georgia Southern, and Clemson kind of beat up on Georgia Southern. And, I didn't see a whole lot of this game, so I got to assume that Clemson kind of called off the dogs at 38-7. Should have been higher, but Clemson's still number 2 team. Number 1 team in the country, Alabama. And I got to raise my hand and say I was way wrong. Later in the week last week, I started looking at numbers, looking at Ole Miss, and saying, man, they're about due to have another one of those big games. And while I was looking pretty good for about a minute, first minute of the game, they scored a touchdown. That's all they scored. Alabama put 62 on them. This looked like a major college football team versus a high school team. Congratulations to Alabama. What a fine effort by them. Now, there were 2 other games that I want to mention here that I just struck me. First was Texas and USC. Texas did something that they haven't done in quite a while. They showed heart. They showed will. They showed resilience. and toughness and speed and all the great things that makes football such a really good game that have been so sorely lacking at the University of Texas. Well, they showed it Saturday, and they beat up on SC. And a little piece of me was glad to see SC lose like that, but it was more about Texas sort of reaffirming that they do have a pulse and a heartbeat. And the other one was San Diego State was playing Arizona State. And San Diego State's Rocky Long, again, proves a lot of people wrong. And in this case, his football team, the Aztecs, were ready to go. They had a substitute quarterback. They've got a running game that can run the ball on anybody. They've got a tough defense, and Herman Edwards' Sun Devils just came up a little bit short. Congratulations to San Diego State. I'll see you this weekend. All right? That'll do it for the college football side. Let's take a look at a few of the NFL scores that stood out. First one was the game that wouldn't die yesterday. And that was the Giants at Dallas. Tell you what, Giants are in serious trouble. That offensive line is horrendous. Eli's getting beat up. And, boy, I'm sure glad they paid their wide receiver millions of dollars. They couldn't use that anywhere else. Congratulations to Jerry Jones and company and the Dallas Cowboys. Number two of the games from yesterday, Carolina and Atlanta. I was just landing at the end of this game, that last minute or so, as Carolina and Cam Newton were going for that tying touchdown. Very exciting game. Looked back on it a little bit when I got home. Matt Ryan, 2 rushing touchdowns. Probably one of the cheapest shots and most egregious late hits against somebody was perpetrated on Cam Newton yesterday. That player was thrown out of the game. And I won't even say his name, but I do believe he should be suspended for a month. Minimum a month. I'd have no problem with half a year. That was complete chicken shit. Period. And a report. All right. Third game made a lot of people happy, especially those that don't like the New England Patriots. Jacksonville, down in Jacksonville. Jalen Ramsey, corner DB for Jacksonville, has been running his mouth all offseason. Well, you know what? Keep running your mouth if you're going to play like this. They took out the Patriots. Almost made Gronkowski a non-factor. In fact, statistically, he basically was a non-factor. And they win this game. Blake Bortles, nice job. Good job as a quarterback. No one believes in the kid. But all he does is win, and people forget this was a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last season. And the final game that I'm going to make note of here was another tie, 29-29. Now, you're going to read about the hue and cry. We need to change the rules. Oh, my God, how can we have ties today in the NFL? Mainly it's for safety. You want to play endless games and see guys keep getting carted off? That's one of the main reasons you don't have endless football games. And I think when you look at it and it's all said and done and the standings are figured out, I think history proves that teams that have ties, especially contending teams, those ties usually end up helping.